Well, let's bring in the former chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council Nigeria, Yabagi Sani. He's also a former national chairman of the Action Democratic Party. Good to see you, and thanks for your time. Now, Nigerians have started leaving the streets, but again, this is some sort of warning to leaders across all strata. First, let's talk about the art of good governance, which is one of the reasons the young Nigerians are out there on the street. What truly, in your opinion, the government isn't doing right at the moment?
Well, I think first of all we must commend the efforts of the youth that are leading this protest, because apart from the fact that it's their constitutional right, every government at a point needs, some kind of pressure to get the government to focus on those important things that the government must do. Those who are within the government cannot see the total picture of what is happening. So you need this kind, and that's why in the Constitution, the drafters of the Constitution, not only the Nigerian Constitution, all over the world, recognizes the fact that people must be allowed to air out their grievances so as to serve as a wake-up call for government. Because once you are in government, you don't see some of these harsh effects of your policies. So having said that, yes, I've listened to those who said protest cannot solve our problems. I like to an extent, I have a different view as to it. That's what I believe, that it's their right, it's our right as citizens, and there is also responsibility of the government to listen to citizens. So which means if you don't have protest, how do you now tell somebody who is the president or the governor, that's how you are wrong?
So in this case, it comes back to what I asked earlier on. What are those wrongs?
Yes, the wrongs are fundamental in our own particular case as a country. Fundamental in the sense that the recruitment of leadership has a lot, to be desired. I'm talking about elections, how we conduct our elections. So much is still left to be desired. Why? Because we deliberately decided not to allow the system to work. So perhaps this is one of the wake-up calls. Because what is happening, if you look at it critically, why I'm talking about recruitment of leadership, is that, take for instance the North, what is happening in the North today. This is supposed to be a national protest. And it was indeed a national protest, isn't it? But why is it that you have the fury of the protest more intense in the northern part of the country?
It's an interesting question. I mean, why do you think so?
Why I think so, that's why I say it's fundamental. The kind of leadership you have in the North as governors, they behave like emperors. They behave as if people don't matter. There's no connection between the leadership and the governed in the manner that's supposed to be, because if there was one, you would have seen the effect of the trillions of naira that is going to these state governors, on the people, the impact on the people. Just July, about 1.34 trillion naira was distributed, and a chunk of it went to these governors. I'm not sure there was enough engagement between the state governors from the North with the youth, as different from what you can see from the South.
You're re-echoing what the governor of Kaduna State said on this show last night. Sani, he actually, not verbatim, but that's exactly what his position is. But then again, should the Northerners, the youth in the North, be directing their grievances towards the governors in the region? Because
that's why I pity Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You see, this anger that you see it's not so much against the national government.
Right.
It is against the state, because look, you have to see the state, the insecurity, the poverty, the hunger, that is so devastatingly, affecting the people from the north. Even when we had a president that is from the north, it wasn't any better. Why? Because the subnationals that are supposed to deliver deliverables that you talk about, the deliverables of the democracy, where was holding, with impunity. Because they are like emperors. Believe you me, you go to any state, who do you think can talk to any governor in any state? Not the traditional institutions that are subjected to by constitution to the governors. Nobody talks to them.
So
not even the House of Assembly.
So it looks like there's a weaponization of poverty in the north. But
yes.
I mean, you could
and
say
that's
the
the reaction
same,
you are getting
you could
now.
say the same for every part
yes.
of the country. But do you agree with those because of time?
Yeah.
Do you agree with those, because you're making very, very important points there, but do you agree with those who say, look, this government has only been in place for barely, barely over a year.
It's a lame excuse. It's a lame excuse. It's a lame excuse. It's a lame excuse because government is a continuum. More so, you have the same party that is at the helm of affairs for for almost 8 years. Buhari did 8 years. He has done 1 year. There's no stranger in that government. It is the governors that were recycled to become the ministers in spite of all the stealing that they did. Nobody cared about it. It is the people in the National Assembly that today are in the government house who are advising the government, the senators, the vice president himself. Everybody was in the system from the beginning. So the point again is that, you see, the other fundamental issue is the president himself. The president, unfortunately, has brought out himself as if he's protecting the most corrupt sector of the economy, which is the petroleum sector, by retaining the position of the Minister of Petroleum Resources, because we don't have anybody that we can dialogue with, in spite of all the rot that is happening in that sector.
You think he should go?
He should go for his own sake and for the sake of the nation, so that sector will become a much more a functional sector of the economy, so that regulations can work, so that you can hold people to account. National Assembly cannot summon Mr. President.
Yabagi Sani, let me bring this in, and it has to
They can't perform their oversight functions.
You have to let me bring this in.
Go ahead.
And it has to also be with the petroleum sector. We have an interregnum, so to speak. The youth asked for the 10 days to be out there on the street, and they have listened to the elders like yourself and so many other well-meaning Nigerians to go back. Now is the time for the government to start looking at some of the key things you've raised. And I'm happy you're talking about the petroleum sector, which has been in the news and the president is even the minister of that sector.
Yes, this is a misnomer.
What, as a matter of urgency, in the next 24 hours, would you like the president to start addressing so that we don't have a resurgence of what we have just experienced?
In fairness to him, he's doing something that I think is fundamental, is historic, it's commendable.
Which is?
By saying that crude oil should be sold to domestic refineries, in Naira. That's a huge, decision. I hope it will be carried out. I hope it will be implemented.
You think that just might be flouted?
It might be flouted because the same person giving directives is the one to implement it.
Right.
Which is Mr. President himself. This is where the problem lies. This is why, because the officers serving under him are enjoying the loot they are getting today. And they will never let him see the actual picture of what is happening.
How possible is that? I'm happy you're a politician. How possible is that for people to actually shield the president from realities?
Oh, it has happened. We are seeing it happening now. Why are we where we are today? Why subsidy is number one on the demand of the protesters, isn't it? Okay, who put us in this mess? Subsidy is the petroleum sector. Mr. President has not been able to touch any individual, not the high, not the low, to ask them question, why did you put us in this mess as a result of the mismanagement of the subsidy? He has not been able to do it.
What do you think is holding him back, and what are your expectations in terms of the concrete steps he needs to take going forward?
Number one, I will repeat myself. He should relinquish that portfolio so that he can lead. He is not supposed to manage. President Tinubu was not employed to manage any sector. He is to lead. He is to identify experts that are competent, that can run every sector of the economy on his behalf, so that he can now question them. He can now be able to punish them. He can now be able to reward. How does he punish himself? How does he reward himself?
Well,
and this is the most important sector of the economy.
Right, but he does have other ministers.
Who will do what?
Who will help manage the economy and ensure that they
And
carry
in
out
that sector?
his vision, not just in the petroleum sector.
There's
an oil minister, Lokobiri, and there's the
That's
gas.
the Minister of State.
Right.
They're Minister of State.
Yeah, but don't you think they're also handling the business in that sector?
How? They are Minister of States. It's a different thing completely. Okay. Because the National Assembly should have summoned the Minister of Petroleum Resources. If we had somebody as Minister of Resources, today he would have been put on the spot.
Let's see how the President acts on that. It's not the first time anyone is calling for the sack of the NNPC boss, Yabagi Sani. We're truly out of time. We had to push this and stretch it too far for comfort. Many thanks for your time, as always.